The Karmann Ghia looked like the sort of car that should have frightened Jaguars and Ferraris, yet beneath those Italian curves lived the humble mechanical heart of a Volkswagen. That contradiction made it unforgettable. Subscribe for more hidden stories from classic motoring, because behind that beautiful body are design mysteries, clever engineering decisions and forgotten versions of the Karmann Ghia that even devoted Volkswagen fans may never have heard about. The beautiful Volkswagen, with a secret American shadow. One of the most intriguing things about the Karmann Ghia is that its Italian beauty may carry a faint American accent. When Ghia shaped the Type 14 in Turin during the early 1950s, its smooth nose and flowing roofline echoed ideas seen on Chrysler concept cars such as the 1952 d'Elegance styled under Virgil Exner and also built by Ghia. The connection has been debated for decades, which makes the story more interesting than a simple claim of copying. What mattered was how brilliantly those exotic proportions were adapted to Volkswagen's compact platform. Buyers could suddenly own something that looked almost coach-built without paying exotic car money. That visual transformation gave Volkswagen a completely new kind of customer. The Karmann Ghia proved that humble mechanical origins did not have to produce humble-looking cars. Built like a coach-built car, not a Beetle underneath, the Karmann Ghia shared much with the Volkswagen Beetle, but its body was produced in a very different world. At Karmann's works in Osnabrück, Germany, large steel panels were carefully welded together, shaped, finished and smoothed with far more hand labor than a normal mass-produced Volkswagen required. Workers paid particular attention to seams and surface transitions because the car's flowing sides left nowhere for poor workmanship to hide. This clever production method created a body that looked unusually clean and almost seamless under paint. The practical benefit was not speed, but perceived quality, giving owners the feeling of driving something far more expensive than its mechanical specifications suggested. It also explained part of the Karmann Ghia's higher price compared with a Beetle. Every curve quietly reminded you that this Volkswagen required craftsmen as well as assembly line workers. The Beetle, chassis Volkswagen, quietly tamed, calling the Karmann Ghia simply a Beetle in a pretty dress, misses one important detail. Volkswagen knew that a lower, wider coupé needed slightly different road manners, so the Type 14 received a front anti-roll bar from the beginning to reduce body roll and help control the rear-engined car's tendency towards oversteer. That change was simple, compact but effective. As the model evolved, front disc brakes, dual-circuit braking, and improved rear suspension arrangements appeared on later versions, making everyday driving more reassuring. None of this turned the Karmann Ghia into a genuine sports car, and Volkswagen never needed to pretend otherwise. The hidden advantage was balance rather than outright speed. By refining familiar Beetle engineering instead of replacing it, Volkswagen preserved reliability while giving the coupé a character that felt more composed and mature. Volkswagen literally advertised it as a loser. Most car companies would hide the fact that their beautiful coupé was slow. Volkswagen did almost the opposite. In the United States, Doyle Dane Bernbach created advertising that openly joked about the Karmann Ghia's lack of racing ability, including the wonderfully blunt message, "You'd lose." Instead of promising horsepower it did not have, the campaign redirected attention towards styling, economy, reliability, and personality. That honesty became a surprisingly practical marketing weapon because buyers never felt tricked about what the car could do. Against a 1960s American market obsessed with cubic inches and acceleration, the Karmann Ghia offered a completely different form of confidence. You did not buy one to beat a muscle car at the lights. You bought one because it suggested that taste could matter more than winning, and that idea helped define its lasting legacy. The razor-edge Ghia was supposed to replace the original by 1961. Volkswagen and Karmann had something even stranger waiting in the wings. The Type 34 Karmann Ghia was larger, sharper, and more sophisticated than the rounded Type 14, with crisp body lines that later earned it the British nickname Razor Edge Ghia. Built on Volkswagen's newer Type 3 platform, it offered more cabin space and a more upmarket atmosphere, while certain versions could even be ordered with an electrically operated steel sunroof. The surprising part is that this was originally intended to move the Karmann Ghia idea forward, not merely sit beside the older car. Yet buyers remained attached to the familiar Type 14, so both models ended up sharing Volkswagen showrooms. The Type 34 disappeared in 1969 after only 8 years. Its failure to replace its predecessor is exactly what makes it so fascinating today. The Karmann Ghia convertible Volkswagen refused to build. The rarest Karmann Ghia may be the one Volkswagen decided not to sell at all. When the Type 34 appeared in 1961, Karmann also developed a cabriolet version that looked remarkably elegant with its roof removed. But cutting away that steel roof created a serious structural problem because the open body needed extensive reinforcement to recover sufficient torsional rigidity. Engineers could solve it, but doing so economically was another matter. The extra development and manufacturing cost made little sense for a model expected to sell in relatively small numbers. Volkswagen therefore abandoned series production before the dream reached ordinary customers. It was a surprisingly practical decision that created an extraordinary historical footnote. Today, the surviving prototype story captures one of the most painful questions in automotive history. What if they had built it? The Karmann Ghia had to die for the modern Volkswagen coupé to live by the early 1970s. The Karmann Ghia's greatest strength had become its biggest limitation. Its identity depended on rear-engined, air-cooled Volkswagen architecture at exactly the moment Wolfsburg was preparing to move towards water-cooled, front-wheel drive cars. Production of the Type 14 ended in 1974. The same year, Volkswagen introduced the first Scirocco. The contrast could hardly have been greater. Giorgetto Giugiaro's sharp new coupé used modern transverse engine engineering connected to the emerging Golf generation. Yet there was one beautiful continuity. Karmann in Osnabrück, the company that had built the old Ghia's sculpted body, also produced the Scirocco. The Karmann Ghia therefore did not simply disappear. It handed the idea of the stylish Volkswagen coupé to a completely new mechanical era, turning its ending into part of Volkswagen's modern beginning. The Karmann Ghia proved that a memorable car does not need enormous horsepower when design, craftsmanship, and character are strong enough to survive generations. Its Italian curves, German engineering, and unexpected secrets turned humble Volkswagen foundations into something genuinely timeless. Click on the next video to discover another remarkable British classic. Like, subscribe, and tell us what the Karmann Ghia means to you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.